Hello, Pickled Onion Knight here, and I'm doing another one of these Misc stroke audience feedback videos. The one that normally comes just before the pickups video. Now, I had intended, as to the previous video I put up, I had intended to do one of these towards the end of November. It is now the 17th of December. Now, there are two main reasons for this. Number one, as I talked about in that previous video, I did end up going in for another course of laser surgery on my eye. So that has set things back a little way. And because this is one of the audience feedback videos, of course, I've got stuff that I'm going to read from a sheet of paper. So obviously, I'll try and make it as I'll try and make it as subtle as possible. But when it comes to the point where I'm doing that, then expect a few sort of jump cuts, because, like I said in the previous video, it's not exactly easy. But yeah, I mean, it's fine, but it's quite taxing. So I've come off the eye drops now. This is why I'm doing this now. So if you see a lot of jump cuts and the video starts to sort of go so that's what that's about. That is because I'm struggling a little bit, but hopefully it'll be fine. So the other reason why I left it this late to do this video is because I don't want to give away. I suppose I can give a little spoiler. I was waiting for something that I wanted to buy from Andorra that I had to wait for it to come back into stock and then be delivered to me, and that arrived yesterday. So if you know which particular games manufacturer or games hardware manufacturer is based in Andorra, then that is a massive spoiler perhaps for the thing that I was waiting on, but I wanted to include it in this pickup, in the next pickups video. And like I say, traditionally I do this one the night before, so yeah, I hope I haven't given too much away. Oh, and there was this other thing that kind of held it up, where I stood as a candidate in the UK parliamentary election. So that took up quite a bit of time as well. So that's a third thing that I've been doing. So it's not just that I was waiting for something and you know, had surgery, but I was also doing this other thing that took up quite a lot of my time. So now I'm back to sort of being able to do what I want to a certain degree, and being able to use my free time kind of how I want. So that's what I'm doing. So, like I say, I don't want to give too much away from the pickups, but I normally, when I do one of these videos, the sort of miscellaneous videos, I like to talk about where I see things going and things progressing in the future. Now, my outlook is a little bit better this time, because, like I say, I've had this third course of surgery, and they're hoping, fingers crossed, that should be it. So, as time goes on over the next 4 or 5 months, my eyesight should actually get back to normal, and I will be able to. I mean, it'll be like the last sort of 7 months. 6-7 months never happened, so I will be back to where I was then. Is the idea? So everything will be sorted, and in fact, if I show you there, there's a red spot by my iris. That's where they put a big bloody needle in. I advise everyone goes through the experience. Honestly, it will frighten you to death. So no, it's not that bad. So hopefully everything will start to get back to normal, and I'm a little bit more optimistic on the outlook. So, like I say, I don't want to spoil too much from the pickups, but I have now, because some new pieces of hardware and some new stuff has arrived, I've suddenly got some really good ideas of stuff that I want to do in the future with this channel. And maybe I don't want to go too much into it because I don't want to spoil anything for the next video. But suffice it to say, there is a lot of ideas. There's a lot of stuff that I've suddenly realised that I have the scope and I'm able to do. So that it's just a question of writing it. I plan on redoing entirely my Final Fantasy X playthrough series. Maybe I spoke about that before or not. I can't remember. I don't know when the idea occurred to me. But I'm going to redo that entire series because it's just, at the moment, the way it is, it's far too long. It's far too difficult to navigate. People can't necessarily search for the bits that they want, because I'm assuming people aren't going to watch the entire thing. They're going to sort of dip in and out for bits that they maybe need help on or whatever, and stuff. And I know it's kind of been done before, but I couldn't find anyone, or certainly at a quick glance, I couldn't find anyone that was playing through sort of the same way I do, which is maybe a bit odd to some people, or maybe exactly the way you would do it yourself. I don't know, but I just feel that it's too big, it's too much. There's too much of it, and that needs to be sort of reduced down to sort of the relevant pieces. So it's something that I've been looking at, and I think I could do that a bit better. So that's one of my aims to do, hopefully by the beginning of this year. I can't think what else I'm doing. I'm planning on redoing all the, or I'm planning on continuing with the Nier Automata videos, but like I mentioned in the previous video, again, because of this eye thing, sort of fast moving games have been a bit of a problem. I'm probably not going to do any more Minecraft stuff. I think I'm done with that. I think I've got that out of my system, unless there's some massive new update that I don't know about. Then I might do something, I might not. I haven't really decided that far. What else? The Collect, Emulate, Avoid series, I plan on continuing with that. I'm hoping that the next one is going to be Xbox 360. And I haven't really written it. Is the main thing. I haven't written it. So once I get round to doing that, then that'll be plain sailing. And I've got a few more ideas of stuff that I want to do, sort of larger scope things, sort of more about my personal history with gaming. That's something that I want to talk about. Sort of video games from a more UK centric perspective. I want to do something on that, and also for not gaming related, but the stamp and coin stuff, I'm sort of at an impasse with that whole sort of thing, because aside from showing the new stuff that I've got, I don't really know where I can go with that. Now I have picked up a few new things, and there is scope for doing bits and pieces, but nothing that I can sort of turn into. I'm not sure. I've got one or two sort of tiny ideas, but nothing. I'm not sure if I can work it into anything that's worth doing a video about on its own. So I may well sort of maybe do a pickups, or a stamp pickups, or coin pickups, or something like that, and then try and work them small ideas into the main video, rather than do something separate with that. So I'm not sure how far more I can take that, but we'll see. It's a question of me just sitting down, having the time to write something up. Now, like I say, as I mentioned in the previous video, again, I'm not going to bang on about it too much, but I have realised that one of the problems I was having, and will be having probably for a few weeks or a couple of months yet, is sort of reading stuff back that I've written. Now, I've tried to solve this by typing everything, and that's helped a little bit, but it's not that straightforward. I mean, my handwriting is pretty bad. I probably should have been a doctor. It is so bad. And trying to read it back isn't exactly straightforward at the moment. So I've tried typing everything, but I've actually worked out a better solution, and it seems to have worked. I'd actually had this printed off before. I remembered that I'd sorted this out, but I actually bought a cheap 10-inch tablet. Now, that's still stuff that's typed. How does that solve anything? Well, because I can use that, and I can sort of zoom in. So if there is anything that's a bit of a struggle, I mean, it still means a jump cut on the video, obviously, while I'm actually going through that process of zooming in. But if there's something I need sort of written out or whatever, I can actually zoom it in. And I will probably sit it here under the camera, so that I can sort of, do all the stuff, so hopefully it will end up being seamless. Now, I haven't, like I say, I haven't sorted that out for this video, or probably the pickups video, because I've already printed off the sheet that I normally have. But for stuff over the next couple of months, that'll probably be the way I do things, is to have them on a tablet in front of the camera. So it did mean sort of a small investment, but so it was only a cheap one. It was nothing earth-shattering, didn't cost me a lot of money. I bought it in the Amazon Cyber Week, Cyber Monday, whatever it was, sale. So if it gets me through the next couple of months a little bit easier, then fantastic. That was the aim. So what else is there? I can't think of anything offhand at the moment. But getting back to the game stuff, I've already said I'm probably not going to do any more No Man's Sky stuff, because they keep changing the game almost constantly, and I just, every time I do, I mean, I had this big long form thing that I was editing down to do with the refiner mechanics that they added into the game, and then they went and changed them all, and then the refiners, one of the size refiners was completely broken. It didn't work at all. So then they patched that, and then they changed it all, and then they changed what you can turn all the different elements in it. I just want a game where they bring out the game and stop fiddling with it. That would be really nice. This is why I like retro games. This is why I want to do a playthrough on Final Fantasy X, because they're not going to fiddle with that anymore. They're done fiddling with it. Even something like they brought out Zodiac Age, and they've completely messed around with the whole weapon system. This is Final Fantasy XII. They've brought out the PlayStation 4, and I know they based it on the Zodiac Job system, or I can't remember what they. Yeah, Zodiac Job system. I'm sure they called the one from years ago. And even then, they've still fiddled about with little bits and pieces, and I'm not into that. Just release the game. So the end up is I'm probably not going to do any more No Man's Sky stuff until they've maybe in a couple of years, when they've actually decided where they want to be, and they just release maybe a disc with the whole thing on it, like, this is how it is, and we're going to stop now, we're going to go and do something else, then probably. So yeah, it's all basically at the point where I am the sticking point now. I can do what I want to do, but I need to start really sort of knuckling down and getting it written. Now, hopefully I shall have quite a bit of free time over the Christmas holidays, where I can actually knuckle down, start getting things written, and getting things in a form where I want it to be. So yeah. So that's about it. That's all I wanted to say, and I'm going to go on to the feedback now, because this is usually quite a lot of fun. And like I say, be prepared for jump cuts at this point. So here's one from Atomosc1221, and this is on the Why You Will Never See a Nintendo 64 Classic, in my opinion, video, which has actually stopped getting a lot of negative comments recently. It's quite disappointing. I was getting loads of negative comments on that video, and it all sort of stopped now, so that's a shame. I might have to redo it and try and stir the pot a little bit more. But anyway, this one here, me at 21:40, so that's 21 minutes and 40, or is it 48? 40 or 48, I can't tell. All he is doing at this point is selling me the damn Mini at this point. That list is all right by me. So this is, I suppose, a sort of positive-ish comment. I mean, it's certainly not my intention to try and sell you the Mini. The whole point of that video was why I think there won't be one. But then again, I did do that video 2 years ago, so a Nintendo 64 Classic might be right around the corner. I don't know. Times have moved on, but my point with the N64 has always been this: there are only so many games that you want to play. I mean, a lot of, well, when I say a lot, actually not many. There's a few hundred games were released for that system, but ask yourself honestly, how many do you even need to play? You know, I mean, there's 190 odd games released for the Nintendo Wii, but I would say that 80 or so, probably half of what was released is worth playing, whereas for the N64 you can knock that up to 10%. I mean, literally 10% of the games are the ones worth playing, and maybe that is a stretch. That was kind of my point. So there I go, stirring the pot, get people riled up, because people love that console. Now, I love Mario 64. I think that is a brilliant game, but you've got to remember that is the game that entire console was designed around. That controller that comes with that console was designed entirely to play Mario 64 and nothing else. When the controller was designed, that was the game it was designed for. You know, this is why sometimes playing the Zelda games on there can feel a little bit clunky. You know, GoldenEye 64 is fun if you've got 4 people playing it, but if you've tried playing that one-player campaign, especially towards the end of it with that clunky stick, no, unbelievable. Anyway, yeah, so thanks for that, Atomosc. Atomosc? Oh, it might. Oh no, hang on, that's a different spelling. Atomosc1221. I thought he might be a Muslim then, but he's no, mosque is spelt differently, so obviously not. Unless you can't spell. Anyway, on to the next one. This is from Vincent P98. And this is on the TurboGrafx PAL version video, which I call the worst of both worlds, which I stand by. Hi. Well, it was also released in France shortly. So Depeng released this and some other NEC consoles. Okay, well, I didn't know that. I had a feeling it came out in France, although as far as I'm aware, there was a third party company that released the PC Engine in France, so it plays the Japanese version of the games. I had no idea, because the thing with the PAL console is it's a 50 hertz console, as I showed in that video, but it plays the US version of the games. So games that were designed to work on a 60 hertz console, as I suppose the NTSC one, the Japanese ones were as well. So it plays the US set of games. It does not play the Japanese set of games. As far as I was aware, I know there was a third-party company released NEC stuff in France, but I was under the impression it was the Japanese games that were released as the set in France. I could be wrong, but I don't think the games. The console that was released in France was compatible with the US set of games. I think it was compatible with the Japanese set of games. No, I could be wrong, and somebody please correct me in the comments if that is the case. But as far as I'm aware, it is different turbo chip, Hue card, whatever you call them. They are incompatible. So there you go. Mr. Desert Wings, and this is probably one of the first videos I did, was how to replace a Blu-ray drive on a 60 gig PlayStation 3, which is the model I've got. That was one of the first videos I did on this channel, and this, I'll read the comment and then I'll explain what it's about. He says, not true, they can be remarried throughout CFW. This is where I mentioned in the video, as was my understanding at the time, that if you have the main board in a PlayStation 3 and then you have the sort of CD controller board sort of as a companion board to it. Now, there is an electronic serial number in the chipsets of both of these boards, which if you damage one, you basically can't use the other. They are married together as pieces of hardware. So you couldn't take the CD controller board out of a different PlayStation 3, say, and put it in another one, because the serial numbers of the boards won't match up, and it just won't work. Now, that was my understanding at the time. Now, there is apparently a way where you can rewrite the serial number on the CD controller board to match it up with a different motherboard. Now, I know Sony can do this. I wasn't aware that there was a consumer product or a consumer piece of software that could do this. So, but I understand it is actually possible, because Sony are able to do it if you send the console back to them. So that may be what he's talking about there. I'm not sure whether most normal people could. And to be honest, unless you've got very specialist hardware, I imagine, even if there is some sort of consumer piece of software that would do it, you would need very specialist hardware in order to do that. So, yeah, probably still the advice on the video applies. If you do happen to break one of the boards, just buy a new one. Don't even entertain the idea of getting specialist equipment to fix it. But I think this may be what is angling at, that they can actually be remarried if something goes wrong. So if you need to change boards, so there, I say I don't know. I'm assuming somebody out there will know, and they can fill in the comments at the bottom of this. So Dark Elf Warhawk says, and this is one of my PlayStation 3 reviews, which incidentally I do intend to continue with. If only for the sake of it was a project I really, really wanted to do. And I'm from the feedback I'm getting from these videos, which isn't much, because if I'm honest, they've not really been worth doing because nobody's really watching them. But I do want to continue with them at some point. But from what I gather, people are sort of missing the point as to what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is review the disc-only content and reviewing basically about the first half an hour of play. That is what it is. And what he gets here, his comment basically says it's a first impressions, not a review. No, you're right. It may be a bit disingenuous to call it a review, but also I don't think first impressions really fits. I mean, it sort of does from what I'm trying to do, but it's for games now that you're talking sort of 12 years old. First impressions doesn't really set out what I'm trying to do. My main thinking on that whole thing is, okay, there's a lot of games that came out for the PlayStation 3, and a lot of them exclusives. Let's be fair about it. A lot of them exclusives, and even the stuff that was ported over to the PlayStation 3 from other systems. A lot of it does play sort of differently. Not in most cases, no. They're effectively the same game, but something like. I'm trying to think of a good example. I can't think of one offhand, but basically, yeah, I just want to get across that sort of sense of this is what you're letting yourself in for the first sort of half an hour. If it doesn't look good, I mean, and I do try and explain to a certain degree, like control systems and things like that. Now, I did have one on the previous video where somebody pulled me out for complaining about there being too much content in, I think it was the Formula 1 Champions Edition game. I wasn't making a complaint that there was too much content. That was, again, I'm sort of trying to make myself understood as to what I'm trying to do, and I don't think it's really coming across. It is literally a review of the first half an hour of these games. Because as far as I'm concerned, I mean, none of us have got very much time. Let's face it, most of the people that watch me are adults. I can see the demographics on YouTube. Most of the people that watch me are my age or slightly younger. Okay, we're adults, we're busy, we've got jobs, families, blah, blah, blah. Now, the idea behind that is, behind what I'm doing, is basically to give a taster, because I know personally I can't put 20 hours into a game to find out if I like it. I have to judge my games on the first half an hour, because that's all they're going to get. If they suck me in for a bit more, then yeah, absolutely, I will make a point of trying to play through that game. But that is all I can give a new game, is half an hour. If I don't like it in that first half an hour, I probably will never play it again. I don't have the time to put 20, 30, 40 hours into a game to find out whether I like it or not. If I'm not impressed in that first half an hour, forget it. I'm not touching it again. And this was the same thing with the Tony Hawk's game. I had all these comments saying, oh, well, you just got to get good. No, sorry, I'm not going to get good. I'm not going to do it. I don't have the time. So, sorry, game designers, if you haven't put something in that first, if you haven't sucked me into wanting to play more of your game in that first half an hour, well, sorry, you're not going to have me as a fan. That's just it. I don't have the time. That may be fine if you're 16 years old and you've got no other things to do with your time other than playing games and wanking, but I don't. I have other things to do. I can only give so much time. And that was kind of what I'm getting at with these PlayStation 3 things. Is like, and the other aspect of it was judging the disc-only content. Because by the time I finished doing this, bearing in mind, I'm only about 15 games in and I started doing it 2 years ago. So, I mean, obviously other stuff has come up. But by the time I finish doing this, there will be no online servers. There will be no way to get the extra content. There will be no way to get the bug fixes. So if them videos are still there at that time, that is kind of the point. So I keep finding myself having to explain what it is I'm trying to do. But hopefully I've tried to clear that up. And if you do see any of them, then that's what it is. I'm not judging the entire game on the first half an hour of content. You know, I've not said, oh well, it's like this, so the rest of the game must be this. I'm not saying that because I don't know that. All I'm saying is this is how the control scheme, you know, something like Lair, the control scheme is sluggish. You know, and I have to presume that if it's sluggish at the start of the game, it's not going to get any better. So if I say the controls are really dodgy and sluggish and I can't work out how to do it, well, sorry, it's not going to happen for me. That disc is going to go back in the case and sit and get disc rot before I even look at it ever again. I don't have the time. So that's what all that series is about. But you are right. Basically, Mr. Dark Elf Warhawk, it is a first impression, not a review. To call it a review is disingenuous. I know that, but also I don't think first impressions is the right term. Is basically what I'm getting at. But on the Untold, excuse me. But I have to say, Untold Legends: Dark Kingdom. I thought that was actually an alright game, and one I may well go back to in the future. It was kind of like a 3D what would I not Golden Axe exactly, but not a million miles off, I don't think. I think that's the one. Anyway, blah blah blah. Next question. Airborne Ranger. Oh, and this is on how to spend no money on stamp collecting. Now, I will say with that one, I mean, the point I was trying to make, the whole point of that video was basically to buy loads of stuff and then try and sell stuff off individually. And for me, that has actually worked in the past. But I've got to the point now where most of the stuff I need is actually quite rare stuff, so it's unlikely even buying job lots. I can buy a big job lot of stamps. I'm probably still only going to get one or two that I need, and then I've got tons to sell. It's become to the point where that video is not worth it. But I have to say, most of the people leaving comments on that video aren't to do with the point I was trying to make in the video or what. Well, it's just basically stamp collectors that are really enthusiastic about their hobby, and this is so these are some of the most positive comments I've been getting are on this and some of the other stamp videos, because it seems a lot of you are really I thought I was the only sort of stamp collector still going, really, but no, apparently there are a lot of you out there. Anyway, Mr. Airborne Ranger, or Miss Airborne Ranger, it doesn't say. But you collect stamps, so I'm assuming Mr. This might have been my experience. I started at 8 years old. I'm 55 now. Great hobby, and frankly, learned more from this hobby than I did in schools. So yeah, I mean, fair enough. I suppose, I don't know what the schools were like. You say you're 55 now, so, I don't know what schools were like 40 years ago, because it was only, I was going to say 20 years ago I was at school, but it's actually slightly longer than 20 years ago, maybe 23 years ago. And you're right. There is a lot of especially presentation packs and things like that. They do come with quite the extensive information about, like, say, if you buy the Birds stamps or one of the Birds issue of stamps, they will come with a lot of information about the various birds that are depicted on the stamps. If you buy from the 1970s, like the Turner set of stamps, or the stuff like that, it will come with quite a lot of information on stuff. So yeah, you can, especially with presentation packs and things like that, you can actually learn quite a lot of stuff from them. I don't know quite so much if you're buying just individual stamps, although I suppose if you're buying British stamps, you can learn the last few kings and queens, the last 5 or so. So maybe that is a thing. I already knew them because we did actually, ironically enough, we were drummed in to our heads all the kings and queens when I got to secondary school, from William I to Elizabeth II. So I know the kings and queens. But yeah, I mean, presentation packs you can learn an awful lot from. Now, me personally, a lot of them I haven't read, to be fair, because they generally sit in albums. But they are there to be read if I ever want to one day. So I absolutely agree. And this is another one on the how to spend money on no money on stamp collecting. This is from Caroline Ann. Gibbons are a bit expensive. Now that's for those that don't know, Gibbons refers to Stanley Gibbons, the stamp shop, not the long-armed sort of ape-like creature. Gibbons is a name rather than an animal. Gibbons are a bit expensive. I usually buy from a dealer on the market. He used to be a stamp collector, so he gives me some good advice, and I get a good deal on stamps. I am happy. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. The thing is, I have found, and this may just be dealers that I've used. Maybe your local dealer is genuinely, maybe he's not. He didn't start out as a stamp dealer. He started out as a collector, and he wants to do another collector a favour. Then maybe. But I have to say, in my experience, buying from a dealer, not just Gibbons, not just the established sort of shops, people that do like these big appraisals and things like that, but just generally buying from dealers does seem to work out quite expensive. And I have found genuinely some of the cheapest stamps are on eBay. Even Buy It Nows, I have found in some cases, especially with the sort of more modern stuff, and especially with presentation packs. Oh my God, the money that some dealers want for presentation packs. Even the stuff from like the 70s that everyone's got, the money they want is just not realistic. And in fact, my local stamp dealer doesn't even sell presentation packs anymore. He's basically, he's got. Last time I was in there, he had loads of Victorian stuff, some of which that I'm pretty sure I traded to him for next to no money. That was just some of it you could argue was a bit reasonable, but some of it was just so ridiculously overpriced. And I know they've got to make a living, but at the end of the day, if I want to go in, don't give me this. Oh well, we sell everything at a quarter of the Gibbons book value, because that I mean, they are very expensive. They are very expensive. Dealers even selling at a quarter of the Gibbons book value. For most modern stamps, you're too expensive. I'm sorry, I'm just going to go to eBay. That's how it is. So yeah, maybe you've got a good guy that's a dealer, but I mean, most that I've dealt with they're just too expensive, and I won't buy from them, especially for the sort of things that I need now. Because the stuff that I need now does tend to be on the rarer end of things, and I'm not so worried about gums and hinge marks and things like that. I just want a nice face on something. That's what I'm after, because it's going in a book anyway. So whether it's gummed or whether it's ungummed, I don't care, because I'm never going to see the back of that stamp ever again, most likely. So I really don't care about that. So, I can, especially because there's just so much choice on eBay now. When it comes to each individual stamp, there are so many different sellers now that it is actually driving the prices down a little bit. Now, you could argue that for something a bit rare, like a penny blue or a two penny blue or something like that, like an 1840 two penny blue, that it's sort of price fixed the market, because they all tend to come up about the same price. Or for a rare plate penny red, the rarer plates, when they do show up, they will be at a fixed price. Now, that's not something that interests me, because I'm not going after different plates. I just wanted one very good example of a penny red, so I've got one of them. But it has sort of price fixed the market to a certain degree. But then for some other things, it is just driving down the price. I mean, something like the Forth Road Bridge presentation pack, or something like that. Now, that is one that I still need, and I'm still occasionally keeping an eye out for the pack. But sometimes you'll get a week where there's one person selling it and it's silly money, and then other times you'll go on and there's loads of people that just happen to be selling it that week, and that is driving the price down to a certain degree. Other things like the Post Office Misc sets, the 16 different packs that are called the Post Office Misc, or the POM set for short. Like the Jubilee issue one, and the Gandhi stamp and things like that. Now, that doesn't affect me anymore, because I've now got all 16 of them. But it's the same sort of thing. You see, it comes on there. Sort of, if one or two people have got it, then yeah, you're going to pay a little bit for it. If there's loads of people suddenly getting rid of that particular one, it does tend to drive the price down a bit. So I think just by virtue of the fact that you've got so much more choice, and it's not just eBay. There are, auction sites there and around the internet that specialise in auctioning stamps, and even sort of first day covers and things like that. So whatever sort of aspect of philately you're into, I genuinely think that the internet is your best place. Now, on the flip side of that, I don't want to get too much into this, but on the flip side of that, if it's coins that you're into, then 9 times out of 10, and I don't know why this is, I would go to a dealer and see if they can sort you out some sort of deal, because coins have got insane on eBay at the moment. Now, I think this is a lot to do with articles in the national press, because I've seen every now and then on a slow news day, the national press in Britain, if they're not talking about some, terrible weather storm that's going to turn up, then they've got a 2-page spread in there somewhere about collectibles and specifically coins. Now, this has gone insane with the Beatrix Potter coins at the moment. So I mean, even the stuff that, you know, there's a million of, and they cost nothing. They're basically face value, like, you know, Jemima Puddle Duck and things like that. I mean, there are people trying to sell them for silly money on eBay at the moment. And it's just, even when people are trying to sell on eBay now, coins, you know, they'll go and they will specifically put them in capsules, you know, which is fine, because most people, when they sell you a coin, it will come in a capsule, but they never used to bother mentioning it. You know, it just used to come in one. Now they go to a point of saying, you know, brilliant condition, and they've obviously polished them as well, which you're not really supposed to do. You know, they've got them in their pocket change. They've polished them up with a bit of vinegar. They've stuck them, you know, specifically in a capsule. You know. And it's just, coins have gone mad at the moment. They really have gone mad. And if you need something that's a bit more specialist, like say one of the £5 coins or something, forget it. Just forget going to eBay at the moment. Go to a dealer, because he'll like you do. You know, he might even do you know, two of them for 15 quid. You'd be lucky to get one £5 coin on eBay for 15 quid at the moment. It's gone insane. So that needs to calm down a little bit. And then once that does calm down, of course, eBay will be your best bet. I mean, I've seen silly things going up there. I was looking for. What was I looking for? I was just checking the price of a Kew Gardens 50p. No, that is arguably the rarest 50p there is, if you don't count sort of misstrikings and things like that. Some of the Olympic misstrikes are, you know, arguably rarer, but circulation wise. And, you know, you see them come up, buy it now, 90 quid, buy it now, 120 quid. Forget it. That coin is worth 30 quid. If you walk into any coin dealer in the land and they've got one, it's around £30-35. Nobody is paying 90 quid for it. And I know that's a buy it now, so it's a sort of deliberately disjointed market anyway. You know, it is deliberately misleading as a buy it now. But trust me, coins have gone insane. Stamps is the best time to buy online. Coins is the worst time to buy online. And games, somewhere sort of in the middle. It depends which system you're buying for. You know, if you're buying, well, actually, Nintendo 64, that's shooting up and up every day now, it seems. Whereas Super Nintendo and NES stuff has started to come down a little way. Not for the rarer stuff, mind you, no. I mean, if you still want sort of Sunset Riders or something like that, it's going to cost you a few quid. But, or Turtles in Time or something like that. But, or, I don't know, what's it called? Gimmick or something like that. Mr. Gimmick. I mean, yeah, that's going to cost you a lot of money. But the common stuff is coming down and down and down. Stuff like Probotector has come down, Batman Returns has come down in price, or just sorts of things that, you know, the common stuff that people want. It has definitely plateaued and is on a sort of downward slope. Conversely, I've noticed that PC Engine stuff is going up and up all the time. So if you are collecting PC Engine stuff, I'd suggest you buy it now. Anyway, I didn't want to get into this. It was just a comment on stamp dealers that now has got out of hand. It's so long since I've done one of these. I've just got so much pent up that I need to say. So maybe I could turn it into videos at some point. If I think it's worth doing. So yeah, that's it. That's the end of the comments. Not very many, which is a shame. I thought basically taking 6 months off, I thought there would be more, but I suppose because of the way the YouTube algorithm works, if I'm not uploading stuff, I'm not getting put up on the pages quite so regularly. So people you know, that YouTube's not really showing people my videos, and especially it doesn't help as they've gone now on the front page from sort of 10 spaces to 8 spaces. That doesn't help, so that's even less chance to sort of get noticed. But it does mean that I am going to have to start doing thumbnails properly, which I hate doing. I really hate doing thumbnails. I'm no artist by any stretch of the imagination. But because now the thumbnails are so much bigger, I suppose I should try and put a little bit of effort in to try and make things stand out more. But hey, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll be like the anti-thumbnails and just go, no, what you see is what you get. I'm not going to do one of these things where I've draped a bikini-clad lady over the front of a Lamborghini, and then when you actually click on the video, it's my face you're looking at for the entire thing, and there is no scantily clad lady and no car. You know, it's thumbnails. As far as I'm concerned, in most of the videos that I see, the thumbnail is no reflection of what the actual content of the video is half the time. And I think, you know, to put them so prominent and in fact make everything bigger now is, you know, perhaps being a little bit disingenuous. But what I do like, actually, though, is, on the new features, when you hover your mouse over... I mean, this is only going to apply if you're watching on a PC, obviously, which I do. If you're watching on a phone, I don't know what that's like. But if, you know, when you hover your mouse over it, does actually sort of give you a few hints as to what the video actually is. So you can get around that somewhat. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with this video. The next video is going to be a pickups video. It is going to be a large one. I'm expecting it to be probably, if not the longest pickups yet, then close to it, because there's a lot to get through, and I don't say that lightly. There has not been so many expensive things, but there's been one or two. There's been one or two things that were on my wish list that I really, really am glad I managed to cross off. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to doing it. I hope you're looking forward to watching it. And hopefully, when I get to the end of the pickups video, you'll see, I will try and explain further pertaining to the things that I show as to some of the even more future plans I have for the channel. But that's much easier to explain what I'm planning on doing with the stuff in front of me. So anyway, next one's a pickups video. I'm going to stop putting the Twitter thing here. So if you want to go to my Twitter, you can, but the information is on the YouTube page or under here. I'm not going to put it on the videos anymore. It didn't seem much point. So yeah, go to the Twitter, write a comment, subscribe though, because that helps me know what I'm doing and what people are actually engaging with. So, you know, if there's something that people enjoy more, I might do more of it. But hey, it's my channel at the end of the day. I feel that I can sort of do what I want. And yeah, like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. You know how all this works. I've forgotten how all this works because I haven't done it in so long, but you know how all this works because you're on YouTube every day. You know the routine. And yeah, follow the Twitter because that'll give updates of everything, and even sometimes I post sort of stuff gaming related, so that if that's of any interest to you, then you might like that. So there's some other videos popped up here now, look, that you can click on, and then there's a subscribe button sort of here. And I've been the Pickled Onion Knight. I will see you in another video.